Pop is a unique genre of music. In the 1950s, as rock and roll was becoming more popular, so was pop music. Pop music was a genre that was not meant to be restricted by one style, and a man named Mitch Miller would bring in artists to experiment with different sounds. By the 1960s, pop music was just as mainstream as rock and roll. Early pop music has great examples from well-known artists. While the Beatles were a British rock and roll group, many of their musical experiments are considered pop music. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, had many musical examples, like Hound Dog, that can be considered pop music as well. Other early examples include Elton John and the Jackson 5, who would release hit singles that also experimented with different sounds, like adding electric instruments or infusing different genres of music. In the 1970s, with more electric instruments being invented and used, pop music was beginning to branch out into different styles. By using the electric bass, jazz, and soul music, artists like James Brown were able to create funk music. Another style of pop music that swept the nation in the mid to late 70s was disco. By taking elements of jazz and using electric instruments like the synthesizer, disco was a popular style of club music that briefly overtook America as the most popular style of music. In the 1980s, pop music became more formulaic when Prince released his For You album. Prince mixed in elements of rock, funk, and other styles together to give pop music a new style and sound. Pop music became even more successful when Michael Jackson's Thriller album was one of the best-selling albums of all time, and it had only pop songs. More women were getting involved in the pop music industry, and artists like Cher, Bono, and Madonna led the way. Madonna's Like a Virgin album gave a voice to modern female empowerment, and she became the most successful female musician of the 1980s. The mid-90s saw the rise of commercial pop music. Commercial pop music is all about selling albums and less about the music. This started with the success of the Backstreet Boys and the Spice Girls. The Spice Girls were the voice of girl power and self-empowerment. The Backstreet Boys, however, started the boy band movement where labels would try to recruit the next big act, like NSYNC or 98 Degrees. This eventually led to a controversy with the single female pop industry in the late 90s. Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera were smash hits in the solo female pop market, and this led to many female pop artists being selected based on their looks and less about their talent. Studios would focus less on the fact that they could sing because they can use a device called Auto-Tune. Auto-Tune is a device that automatically corrects singing. Because there were so many female pop singers, the market became oversaturated and pop music started losing popularity going into the new millennium. In the 2000s, pop music saw a revival. This was sparked by reality shows like American Idol. Kelly Clarkson was the first American Idol winner, and her success led to the rise of other reality competition shows like The X Factor and The Voice. Pop music was also being merged with rock and rap music, creating more variations in the genre. Things changed in 2008 with the signing of Lady Gaga. Her songs about self-empowerment and her over-the-top costumes reshaped the pop music industry. A year later, Katy Perry was signed, and her style, along with Lady Gaga's, saw pop music revived as a single genre. Worldwide, pop is one of the most listened to styles, and because of its ever-changing nature, it will continue to lead the way in the modern music industry.
'Cause baby, you're a firework. Come on, show 'em what you work. Make 'em go, oh. you should